So Israeli news media is already reporting that some of the hostages rescued by the IOF recently are showing signs of Stockholm Syndrome. Because as it turns out, they don't really have that many bad things to say about their time in captivity. And if you didn't already know, Stockholm Syndrome is the psychological condition in which hostages start to empathize with the people who took them hostage. But just so we're clear, Stockholm Syndrome is not a real thing. It is literally a made-up condition created by police to explain their own mishandling of a hostage negotiation. The origins of this term come from a bank robbery in Stockholm, Sweden in the 1970s. On August 23rd, 1973, Jan Erik Olsson walked into a bank in Stockholm, Sweden, fired his gun into the ceiling, and tried to rob the bank. When the police came, he took 4 hostages and demanded $700,000 and the release of his friend Clark. This type of armed robbery at the time was basically unheard of in Sweden. In fact, one of the hostages said that she felt like she was seeing something that only happened in America, which I thought was pretty amusing. But as a result, the police didn't really have any sort of protocol for responding to this type of situation, so what followed was basically a week of the police making mistake after mistake trying to release these hostages. In the end, even though Jan Erik threatened to kill the hostages, the police stormed the bank with tear gas. And afterwards, all the hostages, especially Kristen and Mark, had no good things to say about the police. Like, these hostages were pissed that the police had been mishandling this whole situation for days and then stormed in there with zero regard for their safety. In a call with the Prime Minister of Sweden, Kristen Enmark said that she was more afraid of being killed by the police than she was of being killed by Jan Erik himself. And at the time, this was an extremely publicized event in Sweden. Literally 3/4 of the Swedish population were watching this happen live. So it's safe to say that the police were very, very embarrassed by how this all went down. So a consulting psychiatrist who was working for the police, who didn't even treat Kristen Enmark or any of the other hostages, explained the fact that the hostages were empathizing with Jan Erik by saying that they are showing signs of Stockholm Syndrome. And since this term has been invented, it's become a very convenient way to downplay victim experiences and to shift blame away from authority figures and institutions. And that's exactly what's happening right now. One of the main narratives that the IOF likes to push to justify their violence is the supposed mistreatment of Israeli hostages. But as more hostages actually get released, that narrative becomes weaker and weaker. Now that these Israeli hostages can't be used for more propaganda, and in fact they're a direct liability to the narrative, they must be silenced and discredited. If you made it this far in this video, please take some time today to check out the story and the GoFundMe page of Rewa and her family. Like many, she and her family are trapped in Gaza and are looking to escape as soon as possible. We were just recently able to evacuate her best friend Mariam, and we really want to be able to have Rewa join her as well. Whatever you can donate, whether it's $1, $5, $10 or more, would be extremely helpful and could help save this family's life. Or check out my link tree for many other ways to support a free Palestine. I have a public action toolkit, 3-minute tasks, as well as a guide on how to donate an eSIM to help people in Gaza get connected to the internet. Do at least one thing today in support of a free Palestine.